guys! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those who are new here, hi, I am 𝗎𝗏 or Marge, and for today's video, I will be crocheting the chicken hat or the chicken noodle soup hat which BTS wore during their Sowoozoo 6 muster concert. And I actually made one, the green version one, which Taehyung or V wore, and I posted it on my social media accounts, and a lot of people wanted me to make a YouTube tutorial of it, so here it is. And for this video, I'll be making the yellow version one, which 𝗏𝗏 or Jhope wore during the concert, and I am honestly excited to show with you guys the tutorial that I made. So if you guys do decide to use this tutorial and use my pattern to recreate the hat, I would really appreciate if you guys could tag me on your social media account so that I could also see your beautiful creations. So without further ado, let's hop into the tutorial. Yes. So for this tutorial, I'll be using 5-ply milk cotton yarns, and I'll be using the following colors: yellow, white, purple, black, red, and 2 different shades of blue. I'll also be using a 3.5mm hook, some stitch markers, and a crochet needle. So before proceeding to this tutorial, make sure you know how to make a magic ring or loop, half double crochet stitch, double crochet stitch, single crochet stitch, and a slip stitch. Well, technically, I'll be dividing this video into 7 parts, but please don't get overwhelmed. I'll make sure that each part is explained clearly. So I'll start off by doing the base, then the ear flaps, and then the strings, and then afterwards I'll be doing the appliques, which includes the circles, the triangles, the beak, and the strands of hair of our chicken hat. To start off, I will first be making a magic loop or a magic ring. So to do a magic ring, I'm just gonna wrap my yarn around my fingers twice. And if you're doing this, make sure that you cross it over. And then now I will insert my hook beneath the yarn on the right and pull the left string under it and then twist it clockwise. Afterwards, I will insert my hook to the yarn on the upper left and pull through the loop on my hook. And as you can see here, I kind of struggled a bit, but I still made it work. Then there you have it. You made your magic ring. So just pull the shorter string to make a smaller ring. Now I'm just gonna chain 2 and start making half double crochets inside the magic ring. And also take note that we won't count the first 2 chains here as a stitch. So now I'll be making a total of 10 half double crochets inside the magic loops. And I'll meet you once you finish your 10 half double crochets. So now that I have reached the end, I'm just gonna tighten it up, and now I am going to make a slip stitch to finish off our first row. So now I am going to chain 2, and keep in mind that this chain 2 will count as a stitch. And now I am going to make 1 half double crochet on the same stitch because we are going to be doing 2 half double crochets on every stitch for this row. So this is our first half double crochet and then our second half double crochet. So just continue doing 2 half double crochets on the same stitch, and I will meet you at the very end. Now that we have reached the end, I'm just gonna make a slip stitch to end our second row. And after making a slip stitch, I'm just gonna chain 2 to start off our third row. And keep in mind that this chain 2 will count as a stitch. And now I'm gonna make 1 half double crochet and then another half double crochet on the same stitch, because for this row we are doing 1 half double crochet and then increase. So now we are gonna do 1 half double crochet on the next stitch, and then afterwards we are going to increase. So we're gonna do 2 half double crochets on the same stitch. So just continue doing this until you reach the very end, and I will meet you there. Now that I have reached the end of the third row, I'm just gonna make a slip stitch over here, and after making a slip stitch, I'm gonna chain 2. And keep in mind that this chain 2 will count as a stitch because for our fourth row, we are gonna be doing half double crochets on the first 2 stitches, so our chain counts as a stitch. And now I'm making the second stitch, and for the next stitch we are going to be increasing, so I'm going to be doing 2 half double crochets on the same stitch. So just continue doing that, 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, and then increase. And afterwards, I'll meet you at the very end of our row. So now that we've reached the end of the 4th row, I'm just gonna make a slip stitch over here and then chain 2. And keep in mind that this chain 2 will count as a stitch. And for our 5th row, I am basically gonna be doing 3 half double crochets before I increase. So now I'm doing the 3rd half double crochet. Now we have 1, 2, and 3. So for the next stitch, we are going to increase. So this is our first half double crochet and then our second half double crochet on the same stitch. So continue doing this until you reach the very end, and I will meet you at the end of the row. So now that I have reached the end of the 5th row, I'm just gonna make a slip stitch over here, and then I am gonna start with a new row. So I'm gonna chain 2, and then I'll be explaining what you'll do in the succeeding rows. So now that we have done rows 1 to 5, we are going to be doing the last 5 rows. And if you guys notice, there is somehow like a pattern. We're technically adding 1 half double crochet into the next stitch before increasing. So for row 6, we are doing 1 half double crochet into the first 4 stitches and then increase in the 5th stitch. For row 7, 1 half double crochet into the first 5 stitches and then increase in the 6th stitch, and so on and so forth. You can pause the video here and just continue once you finish your 10th row. So now that I have reached the end of my 10th row, I just chain 2 to start off my 11th row. So for this row, I am just going to be doing 1 half double crochet on every stitch until I reach the end of this row. So I'll meet you once I've finished doing 1 half double crochet on every stitch. Now that I have reached the end of my 11th row, I'm just gonna do a slip stitch over here and then I'm gonna chain 2. So now I'm basically gonna do the same thing as I did with my previous row. So I'm just gonna do 1 half double crochet on every stitch and just continue doing this until you reach your desired length. I suggest doing like around 15, 16, 17, or 18 rows. It actually depends on how long you want your hat to be. But for mine, I did around 17 rows. And to close our last row, I'm just making a slip stitch here, and then I'm gonna place a stitch marker, and then I'm gonna cut my yarn. So the reason why I place a stitch marker over here is because we'll be going back there later. And by the way guys, I made a total number of 100 stitches for the last row. That's why I placed stitch markers here to divide them equally. And just to let you know, I counted 14 stitches, including the stitch marker for the back part. And then for the side part where we will be making the ear flaps, I counted 23 stitches, excluding the stitch markers. And then for the front part, I counted 26 stitches, including the stitch markers. So just a recap, 26 for the front, 23 for the side, and 14 for the back part. So now I'm gonna be doing the ear flap. So I'm gonna grab my yellow yarn and I'm gonna insert my hook to the stitch right next to the stitch marker, and I'm gonna pull through, and then I'm gonna chain 2. And then afterwards, I'll be doing half double crochet into the next stitch, and I'll continue doing half double crochets until I reach the other end of the stitch marker over here. So now that I reach the end, I'm just gonna chain 2 and then I'm gonna flip my work. Now I am going to be decreasing, so to decrease, yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops only, then yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through. Now I have 4 loops on my hook. Now yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops only. Now I have 3 loops, then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Now I'm just gonna continue doing half double crochets all throughout until I'm left with the last 2 stitches. So now that I'm left with the last 2 stitches, I'm gonna yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through all 3, and then chain 2, and then I'm gonna flip my work. So once again, yarn over, insert to the next stitch, then pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Now continue doing half double crochets all throughout until you're left with the last 2 stitches. So now that I've reached the other end, I'm just gonna decrease once again, and then after decreasing, I am going to chain 2, and then I'm gonna flip my work. So basically, we're just gonna repeat the whole thing again. We're gonna decrease until it looks like a triangle. Alright, so this is how the triangle looks like right now, and I'm currently on the 11th row and I have 4 stitches left. So technically, I'm just gonna decrease for both sides. Now, I'm just gonna chain 2, and then afterwards, I'm gonna flip my work. As you can see here, we have 2 stitches left, so I'm basically just gonna decrease once again. So now, I'm just gonna chain 1, and then I'm gonna flip my work, and then I'm gonna insert my hook somewhere here on the side and make a slip stitch, and there you have it. I'm just gonna cut my yarn over here, and then I'm gonna pull just to secure my ear flaps, and I'm gonna remove my stitch markers over here, and then here we have it. This is our first ear flaps. I'm just gonna make another one for the other side. Okay guys, so I am done doing the ear flaps for both sides, and just like what I told you a while ago, we are gonna go back to the stitch marker over here at the back. So I'm just gonna undo it a bit, and I'm gonna insert my hook to the stitch over here, and we are gonna be doing a slip stitch using this white yarn. So I'm gonna insert my hook to the other stitch, and then I'm gonna pull through using the white yarn, and then I'm just gonna chain 1, and then afterwards we are going to be doing single crochets all throughout. So now that I've reached the tip of the ear flaps, I'm just gonna do 4 single crochets on the same stitch. So I'm making the second one, and then the third one, and then the 4th single crochet on the same stitch. And after doing so, just continue doing single crochets all throughout. Also, don't forget to do this 4 single crochets on the tip of the other side of the ear flaps. So now that I've reached the end, I'm just gonna make 2 slip stitches just to double secure my work, and then afterwards I'm gonna cut my yarn and then pull and tighten my work. And now I'm about to make the strings of my hat. So just to let you know, I'll be using 4 strands of each color on each side. So for mine, I actually made my strands like a bit longer, like around 18 to 20 inches long, because I want my strings to look longer. And if you want yours to be shorter, then feel free to cut your yarns inches shorter than mine. And now that I've placed my yarns on the edge of my ear flaps, I am now gonna be doing a 4-way braid. Well, this is somehow similar to a normal braid, but the only difference is that for a 4-way braid, we are bringing the yarn at the outermost to the front and placing it over the other yarn. So just continue doing it until you reach the very end. Now that I'm finished making a 4-way braid, I'm just gonna make a knot over here, and afterwards I'm just gonna cut the excess yarn and I'm gonna make another one for the other side. Now that we have finished the first part, which is the base hat itself, we will now proceed in doing the appliques, starting with the circles or the eyes of our chicken hat. And as you can see, I've already done a magic loop, and now I'm gonna chain 2. And now we are going to be doing double crochets inside the magic loop. And to do so, I'm gonna yarn over, insert my hook inside the magic loop, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops. And then you can pull the shorter string to tighten it, and just continue doing double crochets all throughout until you reached a total of 10. And also take note, the first 2 chains won't count as a stitch. And as you can see, I'm just tightening my circle, and now I am going to make a slip stitch here at the end, and then there you have it. This is actually how you make the smaller circle. I just demonstrated it using this light blue color so that you could see it clearer, and now I'm just gonna finish off this black one. So I've already cut the strings, the end string here, so I'm just gonna pull it, and then there you have it. This is how you make your smaller circle. And then now I am going to proceed in doing the blue one. This is going to be the bigger circle, so I'm just gonna chain 2. Keep in mind that this chain 2 will count as a stitch. So now I am going to be doing the next stitch here, and we will be doing a double crochet, and this double crochet will count as the second stitch. And for the succeeding stitches, we are going to be doing an increase. So for this next stitch, I will be doing my first double crochet, and then my second double crochet, and then continue doing 2 half double crochets in every stitch, and I'll meet you at the very end of this row. So now that I have reached the end, I'm just gonna make a slip stitch over here, and then I'm basically done. I'm just gonna cut my yarn, and I also made sure that I have enough yarn, especially that I'm gonna be stitching this applique with the other appliques as well. And then there you have it. I'm just gonna hide this yarn over here, and I am done with my bigger circle. So this is how it looks with the smaller circle. And don't forget to make another black smaller circle and another light blue bigger circle. So moving on to the beak, we'll be using this darker shade of blue, and as you can see, it is a different shade of blue with the one that we used with the eyes, and this is the 2 different shades of blue that I was referring to in the start of this video. And also, I suggest that you go back to the timestamp that I'll be placing here, because we will be technically doing the same thing as we did with the smaller eyes. And from there, we will continue doing the beak. So as you can see here, this is similar with the black smaller circle that we did earlier, but I already chained 2. So this chain 2 will count as a stitch, and for this row, we are going to be doing 1 double crochet and then an increase. As you can see here, I'm already doing the second double crochet for my increase, and then just continue doing that, 1 double crochet, and then for the next stitch, do an increase by doing 2 double crochets on the same stitch. And continue doing this until you reach the end of the row, and I'll meet you there. So now that I have reached the end of my second row, I'm just making a slip stitch over here, and then I'm gonna chain 2 and start off with my third row. And keep in mind that this chain 2 will count as a stitch, and for this row, we are going to be doing 1 double crochet on the first 2 stitches and then increase on the third stitch. So as you can see here, our chain 2 counts as a stitch, and we have here our double crochet and then our increase. And then we just continue doing that, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet, and then an increase. So now that I have reached the end, I'm just gonna make a slip stitch here at the very end, and now I'm gonna chain 2, and keep in mind that this chain 2 will count as a stitch, and for our next row, we are gonna be increasing 1 last time. So for our 4th row, we are gonna do 1 double crochet on the first 3 stitches and then increase on the 4th stitch. So now I'm doing my 3rd double crochet, and then I'm gonna do an increase. So this is my first double crochet, and then my second double crochet on the same stitch. So just continue this until you reach the end over here. So now that I've reached the end of the 4th row, I'm just gonna make a slip stitch over here, and this is how our beak is going right now. And then I'm gonna chain 2 and start with our next row. So for our next row, we are just gonna do 1 double crochet on every stitch until you reach the very end of the row, and then I'll meet you there. So now that I have reached the end of my 5th row, I'm just gonna make a slip stitch over here, and basically I'm just gonna repeat what I did with the previous row. So I'm just gonna chain 2, and then afterwards I'm gonna do 1 double crochet on every stitch until I reach my desired length. So just continue doing this, and for mine I actually did a total of 10 rows, and if you're planning to do the green or pink version one, which Taehyung and RM wore, you can lessen the number of rows for your beak. So after reaching the 10th row, I am now gonna make a slip stitch over here, and there you have it. We are done with our beak, and this is how it looks like. I'm just gonna hide the one here in the middle just so that it won't be seen, and then afterwards I'm just gonna cut my yarn, and I'll make sure that I leave a bit of yarn since we'll still be stitching this beak on our hat, and then I'm just gonna tighten the yarn, and then there you have it. You also have the option, by the way, to place some stuffings inside. I actually just got this from our pillow, but if you don't want to, it's totally fine. Your beak will still look like a beak when you attach it to your hat. So now I'll be making the triangle. So to start off, I just made a slip knot, and now I'm gonna chain 22. So just continue chaining until you reach the very end, and now that I've reached the 22nd chain, I'm just gonna chain 1 more, and then I am gonna do double crochet starting on the 2nd chain from my hook, so this one. So I'll come closer so you could see it. And there you have it. Just do a double crochet starting on that chain, and just continue doing double crochets all throughout the row, and make sure that your double crochets look like this, and then just continue doing double crochets all throughout the row, and I'll meet you here at the end. So this is how my stitches look like once I've reached the end. So now I'm just gonna chain 2, and then afterwards I'm gonna flip my work. And then for this one, you want to achieve a triangle shape similar to the ear flap. So I'm just gonna decrease. So yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops only, as you can see here. Then yarn over, insert to the next stitch, then pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops only. Now we have 3 loops here. Then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. And then just continue doing double crochets all throughout the rows until you're left with the last 2 stitches. So now that we've reached the end, yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and then afterwards yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through, then yarn over, insert to the first 2 loops, and then yarn over, then pull through all 3 loops. And then we are gonna chain 2, and then we're gonna flip our work. And then we're technically gonna be repeating the same thing, so we're just gonna decrease once we reached every side of the row, and just continue doing double crochets for each row. And just continue doing this, and I'll meet you once I'm on my 10th row. So now that I have reached my 10th row, I have 1, 2, 3 stitches left here. So I'm gonna yarn over, insert my hook to the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Now I'm gonna yarn over, insert to the next stitch over here, then yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, and then I'm gonna yarn over, insert to the next stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. Now I have 4 loops on my hook, and then I'm gonna yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. And then there you have it. This is how our triangle looks like right now. So to end our triangle, I'm just gonna chain 1, and then I'm gonna flip my work and insert my hook here somewhere on this side, and I'm gonna make a slip stitch. And then there you have it. I'm just gonna cut a considerable amount of yarn over here since we will be stitching this triangle together with the other appliques and on the hat itself as well. So I'm just gonna tighten it up, and then here we go. This is our first triangle, and we have to make another white triangle as well, and also a purple triangle for the top of the head. So for the purple triangle, we are basically going to be doing the same thing as what we did with the white triangle. The only difference is that we are going to be starting with 18 chains plus 1, and instead of ending with 11 rows, for the purple triangle, we will be ending with 9 rows. So as you can see here, this is my purple triangle, and now I'm just gonna look for the middle part since I'll be placing the strands of hair for our chicken hat here. So I'm just gonna grab my red yarn and wrap it around my fingers around 10 times. Well, you can do more than 10 if you want more strands for your chicken hat. And now I'm just gonna make a knot here in the middle. So I'm just gonna cut my yarn and wrap my yarns in the middle part, and I'm gonna make 2 knots just to safely secure it. So I'm basically gonna stitch this into the purple triangle, and I'm just gonna make a knot over here and do some more stitches just to make sure that it's safely secured. And afterwards, I'm just gonna cut the yarns on the edges. And there we have it. We are now done with the strands of hair, and if you want to make sure that it's safely secured, you can do some more knots over here on the strands of hair. And there, we are done with all the appliques, and now it's time for us to put them all together. Alright guys, so this is how my yellow chicken noodle soup hat looks like. I honestly find it super cute, and I love the color combinations of this hat. It looks so playful and vibrant, and now I think I can be matching with BTS when I wear this hat out. Anyways, if you guys happen to reach this point, don't forget to comment this chicken emoji. And if you like the chicken hat that I made as much as I enjoyed making it, please do give this video a thumbs up, and it would really mean so much to me if you would also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you on my next video. Bye!